Right, people around the world will be tuned in to the Eurovision Grand Finale this weekend in Vienna, but some members of the European Broadcasting Union will be airing different programming altogether. 5 nations have chosen to boycott this year's song contest over Israel's participation. It is a major crisis for Eurovision, which was started 70 years ago as a friendly rivalry between countries. Natalija Gorščak is the president of RTV Slovenia, one of the broadcasters that opted out of the contest this year. Natalija, thank you so much for being with us. So, Slovenia has been participating in Eurovision since 1993, as I understand it, since the dissolution of communism and essentially the breakup of Yugoslavia. So I imagine that for this country, it is a huge deal for Slovenia not to be taking part this year. Just before we get into the politics as to why Slovenia is not participating, and obviously you have a lot of countries this time boycotting Israel's participation, just explain to us what the overall reaction has been from ordinary people in Slovenia.
Well, in fact, audience wanted us not to participate, and audience supports us in non-participating in the Eurovision Song Contest. And what is even more important, the authors, the artists, asked us last year not to participate. And I think following what artists wanted, we did it.
So what will it take? I mean, assuming, Israel is allowed to participate. I mean, Israel is allowed to participate this year, but assuming that next year and the year after that, Israel continues to participate, what will it take for Slovenia to change its stance? What will it take for Slovenia to want to take part in the competition again?
Well, of course, we will listen to our audience, and also we are talking to EBU regarding the rules, and we will see where we will become. And let's see what also the politics in Israel will do regarding the wars going on around South Lebanon and what's happening in Gaza. So we will see. We will decide after the Eurovision, of course.
There are some people, as you point out, there are a lot of people in Slovenia who support this decision. They wanted you, as the broadcaster, not to participate in the Eurovision Song Contest this year. But there are other people across Europe who believe that this competition should be purely about music, purely about bringing people together, purely about art, and that is it. And a lot of people have also talked about the fact that the Israeli singer Noam Batam has nothing to do with his government's decisions, and therefore he should not be. Obviously he is being bullied quite a bit on social media, and he is, again, as I mentioned, nothing to do with the political decision of his governments. So just walk us through where you stand on that front, this idea that perhaps music should be made completely separate from politics.
I truly believe in that, but when Russia was kicked out after the attack in Ukraine, I think we have changed the rules. So if we have one rules for Russia, we should have the same rules for Israel as well. Of course, the singer is not guilty for anything, and he's a great singer, and I really feel sorry for what's happening because he's just an artist. But you can't just forget what's going on in the Israeli politics. Also, this is not something against the Israeli people, but it's against the politics of Netanyahu, state of Israel, which is attacking at this moment south of Lebanon. Our colleagues, journalists, can't enter Gaza. In Gaza, it's like in the concentration camp of the Second World War, where Anna Frank died, where there was starvation, diseases, and where people were just dying because they didn't have the basic food and medical aid. So we think that you can't forget it. I think we just need to see what was happening in the past in Eurovision, and as we kicked out Russia, there should be also the same rules for Israel.
A lot of people have made that comparison, that if you're going to apply politics to if you're going to apply politics in one instance, then you should be allowed to apply politics in various other instances. It's not, there are some people who say that politics should be made separately, as I was making that point. But again, as you point out, in 2022, Russia was banned from participating because of Ukraine. Just quickly, just explain to us what you're going to be airing instead. You're airing programming instead of the Eurovision Song Contest in support of the Palestinian people, correct?
Yes, for a whole week. And I would also point out that we also air films talking about Holocaust every week of 27th of January. And we also air films about genocide in Srebrenica in around the 11th of July. So this is also our sort of homage to the people who died in Gaza, to the people who are suffering in Gaza. And on tomorrow's evening, we will have a film talking about the Israeli activist, asking the answer to the question, can we live together? And the name is Coexistence, My Ass. So it's a beautiful story about how also Israeli activists are fighting for peace. Because I think we all want just peace on the Middle East, because we have been watching, I think all my life I've been watching this, horrible stories from the Middle East, and we all need to go and support the peace. And I'm really sorry that John Lennon is not there anymore, because I think he would have a voice at this moment.
Natasha Gorščak, thank you so much for being with us and sharing your perspective. Natalija, thank you.